Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And one of the best support slot characters in the game got a skill fusion, and it does make him, decently good again. It is the OG Gazel Dwargo, the only Gazel that we have thus far in the game. And his skill fusion is his first skill. Currently, he gives himself 25% attack and a 20% crit rate. When the game released, he was the damage-dealing unit in the game for about 3 weeks, and then Dark Diablo came out, and then that whole team came out. But, he was very, very good at the time for Conquest, because that was the hardest bit of content in the game. Now, he will be a bit better, because we used to have to fish for that 20% crit. And now, it's going to go up to 40%, or actually maybe higher than that, and then a guaranteed crit rate for one turn. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We will upgrade his skill, and then we will test him out. He is also on the commander team. He's also physical, so we can put him with the current meta and see how he does. We just have to make a little bit of a change because his guaranteed crits don't really work that well in the beatdown battle. So we'll have to adjust. But let me go ahead and level up his skill, and then we'll jump right in. Alright, first team we're going to use is the Commander Meta Renard, the new Shizu, the new Glenda, the new Hinata, and the old Water Hinata because we need to be able to seal Benimaru's crit resistance. And Hinata will also give us a permanent alt buff, so that'll just help out. It's just that the extra 70% EX alt damage from Shizu is not a factor here because Gazel is not an EX character, and therefore not capable of using an EX ult. So that's the only kind of downside, I would say. Otherwise, I mean, this team is still solidly built, and if you have to use Gazel as your DPS because you don't have New Year's Rimuru or Diablo, then I think he'll do fine. We're going to go into Inferno 1, where he has a solid chunk of health, 2.6. I really, really don't think that Gazel's going to do 2.6, but I do want to see him in this setting just to see what we can get out of him in, I would think, his best setup, honestly, with stage restrictions and all that. So let's go ahead and try it out after I swap my support out. Alright, so turn 1, I mean, we know how this team works. I don't think we have to sit here the entire time and, watch me do this, but we're going to do it anyways, because this is his best team build. We're just going to stack for 8 turns. We're going to stack a whole bunch of weakness strike on him, we're going to stack a whole bunch of ult resistance down, we're going to give him an attack buff, which technically, he gives himself 45% attack with his own skill. That will be overshadowed by the... Actually, no, it won't, because Diablo is the one that was giving attack to himself. Never mind, we're good. Except that hand is awful. Hold on. Alright, back on turn 2, we're able to use Hinata's skill again to give us that full hand of blue. We've got double stack of Renard because we just have so much protection gauge underneath our supports. And since Gazel is one of the big 3, I mean, we can put him up front, and then we can just put a turn 2 protection gauge character underneath him, which is what we did with Blanc. So, I mean, this works out really well. And because Gazel is one of the big 3, he's always been a highly coveted target to raise to level 100. So a lot of the skill fusions that come out are like, they're okay, you don't have to do them, some of them are terrible, blah, 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 blah. But Gazel, being like one of the necessary characters to have traits into, is actually a big-time pickup. And a lot of people will probably have him at level at least 92 because they want to activate his trait and they want to take advantage of it, and I think is a solid option, and it's one of the reasons why he's probably one of the best characters to do the skill fusion right now, for what he needs to be, which is a DPS character, right? They didn't try and make him into some weird kind of support unit. That's not the point of him. It's just more and more damage if you need it. All right, so there's a heal because we put that crit seal on him, but I don't really care. I need to use this to stack up the ult resistance, or the ult damage for Gazel, so I don't really care that he heals. And again, I really don't think that Gazel's going to do 2 million damage. I could be very mistaken. We could be pleasantly surprised at turn 8 of this. I just don't have super high hopes for it. But again, we'll have to see. Alright, Hinata for Shizu. We'll use your convert. It's getting pretty expensive. And you know what? We'll just take Gazel out of here. That way we don't have to use anything. And we'll just use another stack of the ult damage. Because Hinata is skill fused. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Up to 250 points. We've used 2. We need to use 2 more stacks of Water Hinata to get her capped out. And at this point, like, unless we're stacking with Renard, we can just keep Gazel in the back. So I might just skip the next couple turns and save us some time, and we'll come back for the nuke, because I think we all know how to run this team at this point. Okay, had a few misplays on the way, but we still do have enough points to use everything here. So let's go ahead and reactivate Gazel's buffs. We'll do Glenda, we'll put Hinata's buff on, and then I wanted to hold Shizu's buff in the back because Gazel's not an EX character, so I don't really care about the EX part of his kit falling off, but I kind of swapped characters out a little bit early. But we do have enough, thankfully, because Gazel is relatively cheap, and we don't have, like, all 5 characters with 80 point skills, so that's fairly good. So we'll use Shizu, we'll get her 100% physical buff, and then we'll bring in Hinata to seal the crit, and we've got a full hand right here. And so I'm very interested in seeing how much damage we do here. Gazel has, let's see, 132% weakness strike, 20% crit damage, 45% attack, guaranteed crits, defense, which makes him a little bit tankier, sure. Guaranteed synergy, physical attack 100. He's got the 120% ult damage plus the 60 that we got from stacking Water Hinata, so 180. And then Benimaru has 110 ult resistance down, defense, weakness resistance, which is fixed now according to the news, physical resistance, and synergy resistance down. This will be the first time I've ever seen Gazel's ult in a long time, so I want to send everything and then see his ult. I just want to see the damage. Hinata I don't care about because she's magic. 100 actually is more than I thought. 135k for a normal orb. 279. That's actually not bad. That's actually a lot more than I thought he was. I thought he was gonna do like 100k on the 200%. Okay, I like that. And his ult does 3.5 million. Holy crap! Wow. Wow. Oh. Here I was thinking that he wouldn't hit 2 million, and he's doing 3.5. Okay, I mean, he is set up on his team where this is probably one of his best working scenarios with everything that the game has to offer. Probably. I'm sure there are other teams that he could get similar buffs, but, I mean, that's really good. He's got the type advantage from Renard, he's got his own buffs. That's, color me impressed. All right, let's now move him off an EX team into a fight that we have access to right now. It's limited, and we'll put him on a non-EX team and see how well he can hold up with old character buffs. All right, we have a limited event that has, no EX characters allowed. The Turbo Battle versus Velzard. Terrible starting hand, but we have a bunch of non-EX characters. And again, since Gazel is one of the big 3 already, we can put another character underneath him that'll help us get protection gauge in Light Rimuru. So we've got Toa, who's going to give us 40 skill points, full hand of oranges that'll help get Gazel's ult. We've got free-to-play Warrior's Mind Xion, because she has a skill that increases our crit damage permanently by 5%. And if Gazel is already giving himself temporary crit damage and guaranteed crits, that works out fairly well. Water Reamer is here to convert, Leon is here for the light buff, and then Water Shuna is here for her convert and the ult buff. And this Velzard doesn't have that much HP, certainly not 3.5 million, but this is also a much, much lower powered team. So let's see if we can do 300,000 in 5 turns. Okay, so we could either convert with Rimuru now, and then get Toa next turn, or we could just send these Gazel oranges, and then just pray that we get a full hand of Rimuru orbs or just blues. I think we're going to convert now, so we'll do that, and then we'll bring in Leon and Shuna since their support traits will kick in, and that'll be pretty nice. And we'll have 2 guaranteed Gazel orbs next turn at least, so we're going to look okay for now. But Gazel, his... Okay, I mean, that would have worked if we had just sent the 2 Rimurs. Alright, whatever. So, his attack buff, 45% for 1 turn and guaranteed crits for 1 turn. His second skill is 20% crit damage and 20% defense. So it does make him a bit tankier, which is definitely nice. Let's use Toa. Let's convert this entire hand to oranges. This will get him his ult because it just has so much Gazel orbs. And let's go ahead and use his 2 skills now, just because I want to see how much damage he does with his own skills with nothing really else attached to him. Yes. So he's doing 10k a hit, 12 with a pierce, just by himself with nothing else. All right, that was unfortunate. I mean, it's not terrible. Okay, let's go ahead and reapply that. Not the crit damage because we already have that. Yeah, so we just need to use the first skill then, and then we'll send him away to the back, and then we'll wait to get some extra points, and then I think we should be good after that. So let's bring Rimuru in. Let's do the green convert and orange convert. That'll get us a lot of Toa, and that'll allow us to use a lot of skills next turn. Yeah, double Toa. So we're going to have 68 points, so we're going to have plus 68 plus 80. That will definitely be enough to try and full power, quote-unquote, nuke with Gazel. We haven't used any of the stacking crit damage from Xion, but we can here. Where 80 point skills are locked, not a big deal. But let's use the ult buff now. The water resistance down doesn't matter to him. We'll bring him in for Rimuru. Yeah, for Rimuru. And then we'll actually use Toa. That'll give us another 40, which will be able to give us the Leon buff. Boom. Leon is not skill fused. He's not putting the light resistance down debuff on. Not a big deal. It doesn't really account for that much damage, quite honestly. And then we'll take him out of here. We'll use Toa again. And this will change the last orb. Also give us another 40 points. And now we can use the extra 5% crit damage. You know, if I had played it around a little bit better, we could have maybe used 1 stack of that last turn. It doesn't really matter, though. So now Gazel's going to be doing a lot more. So let's see how much more he does. So Shuna... 24k, not a lot. Alright, cool. 200% orb now does, instead of, 20k, it's doing 33k. And his ult, 123. Okay. Definitely a lot less. Definitely not super great. But, ooh, can we actually kill here? I think is a better question. I don't know if we can. No, because she's got the guaranteed guard now. All right, we need a bit more power out of this then. Let's try and come back. All right, we are back. We've made 1 change to the team. We've swapped out the Warriors Mai and Xion for free-to-play Glenda, who, is free-to-play, so she still works. She's not an EX character, and she will put that 20% Fizz resistance debuff and give Gazel guaranteed synergy. So it will still work. We already have his attack buffs and the light buff from Leon held on him, so he is pretty much good to go now. So we'll bring you in for Leon, and then we'll use the Glenda buff. And then we have a Toa, which means that we can convert everything else, and we can bring Shuna in now. We can use Toa and give us another 40 points, and then we have enough to use the ult buff. And hopefully now we have enough power to actually take out Velzard. Again, we'll send all this first, and then Gazel, and then we'll see how much more we do with this team rather than the last one where we only had, 5 extra % crit damage? Whoop-de-doo. Shuna, 22k. Alright, still not great, but she's not the point. Rimuru got guaranteed synergy because he's on Commander, huh? Yeah, 21k, alright, with a Pierce. And then Gazel, 139. Still not enough. Ouch. That's actually kind of disappointing. Alright. Alright, we are back. Made 1 adjustment because obviously that 5% crit damage buff from Xion was not going to cut it. We've instead brought in Light Raphael for the guaranteed pierce and the ult resistance down. So Gazel already has both of his buffs active and the Light Leon buff stored, so we don't have to worry about using that. So we can actually bring him in for all these Leon orbs. That's very, very good right there. And then we'll bring Raphael in for Rimuru, who doesn't have any orbs anyways, and look at this hand of not a full send. Alright, well, it is what it is. We'll go ahead and use Shuna for the 70% ult damage. We'll use Toa, and hopefully she changes just the Gazel orbs. She didn't. Alright, cool beans. But let's go ahead and apply the guaranteed pierce and ult resistance down. And we've got an extra ult here to send. And I think we'll just do the Gazels, because Gazel's going to do more damage on this Shuna orb. And then we'll send him last, and hopefully this is enough to take out 230k HP. Let's find out. Shuna, 38k. Oh, that's a lot less than I was hoping for. Gazel, 14k, and then 195. Alright, so there we go. We are able to clear the turbo battle. No EX characters. We just needed that extra little bit of, well, not little, because Raphael's a pretty decent buff. But I think we also needed the Shuna ult as well. Having that extra 40k damage really made up for it. But, alright, so I mean, we have two examples of what he can do on a full EX team and a not EX team. Let's try one more thing before we end the video. Alright, the final team, we're going to go into the Chamber of Aspects for the Fount of Wisdom team, because Gazel is on Fount of Wisdom. So he will get the extra damage buff from Diablo. He is physical. We're going to run this team, the hodgepodge of shenanigans. We've got Guy for the ult. He's also got guaranteed crits, but, you know, Gazel's already doing that himself. Orb changing. Primal Demon Diablo, 100% physical buff, guaranteed pierce. Full green converts, so we're covered there. Fount of Wisdom Rimuru, I needed an orange converter, and, you know, while his physical buff is not as powerful as Diablo's, if we use both of them, he'll at least put that 20% resistance down, so I mean, cool, whatever. If we don't use it, we don't use it. It's not a big deal. And then we've got Blanc for the ult swapping and the weakness strike. Unless we happen to hit natural synergy, the synergy resistance doesn't really matter, but she's here more for the ult swapping. Alright, this team will run essentially the same way as the Commander team. We're going to go a little bit faster because, you know, sitting here for 8 turns watching a stack is not the most interesting thing in the world. And I don't think I could fill out the time with talking, because, I mean, we've already covered what he can do, right? He is a very, very, very old character, part of the OG release of units when the game first came out. And back then, he was the best damage dealer in the game. And nowadays, you know, with the skill fusion, it does put him up there, right? You know, 3.5 million for Gazel on the Commander team is nothing to scoff at. And again, because Gazel is one of those characters that we always tell people to throw dupes into, I mean, oh, this might be another reset. Or not, never mind, what's turn 3? Anyways, because he's a dupe target to get his trait, a lot of people are going to have him at or close to level 100, and they give away a lot of shards now. They give away, you know, those free choice tickets, and, you know, Gazel, Milim, and Milim are high targets because of what they do, and everybody uses them. So chances are much, much higher than Light Shizu or Water Soe that you have Gazel duped up to a point where you're like, I could skill fuse him. And if you need a DPS for the Commander team because you don't have New Year's Rimuru, you don't have the new Diablo, I mean, Gazel will put in work. I will, depending on how the stage turns out, I might put him in the Jubilee video for, you know, for funsies, because he could still put up numbers, even probably maybe not even skill fused. Then maybe I don't actually have to worry about it, because I could just use his first skill and just get the attack buff and not have to worry about, you know, nerfing myself on crits. Therefore, we don't have to bring Water Hinata. You know, there are things we can do here to make him look good or make him work around certain stage scenarios. But I think it's a good skill fusion. He's a lot more useful than a lot of the others that have come out, right? You know, making this cost higher for one extra orb change is not something I'm always big on, so that's why I don't fuse Light Lumi or Water Shuna or Space Velzard. You know, Light Shizu has a very, very good skill fusion. Water Soe has a good one. Earth Trainee has a good one. You know, there are varying degrees of good and bad skill fusions in the game, and I would put Gazel kind of up there. I mean, he's not meant to be a support character, and so if they had tried to make him into a support, I think it would have gone very poorly. But if you take a damaged character and you give them more damage in a very significant way, right? This is not the case of Fire Violet, where you got 10% extra attack. Whoop-de-friggin' do. No, this is, you get, what, 30% extra attack? Something like that? He went from, was he 20 or 25% up to 45? So between 20 and 30% extra attack, plus now guaranteed crits instead of a 20% chance to crit. Like, that is not an insignificant level of damage potential increase, right? So he is one of the higher ones, in my own opinion, as far as, you know, should you skill fuse him. If you need a DPS character, he will do it. And if you don't, well, then he's still going to sit in your support slot. So this the skill fusion really doesn't mean anything. If you're like for sure never going to use Gazel, not a big deal. But we're on turn 8 now. We're using all of the buffs. We do have enough to use both Rimuru and Diablo, so we can at least get that extra little 20% physical debuff down. I think I'll pause it here and reset the speed back down to 100 so we can actually see his nuke. And that'll be the end of the video. So, what are we at? Oh, boom. Alright, back to turn 8. Physical buff. I actually go with... Actually, don't use a physical buff, actually. I use the orb change so we can get a full hand of blues, and we can send the 200% Gazel orb. Thought that'd be a little bit more fun. So Blanc, you know, whatever. In 196, awesome. Rimuru, Blanc. Gazel's 200% orb with all the buffs. He does, like, 60-something? Yeah, 61k, guaranteed crit, guaranteed pierce. And his ult does 1.1 million damage. In a very wonky, janky team, still the fact that he can do 1 million damage is very good. So I think Gazel got a pretty decent skill fusion. You can let me know what you think in the comments below. But that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.